Hello everyone! On today's episode of Terrius Talks Tech, we have three topics again. The first topic is about the AMD Ryzen and Threadripper price drop that's been seen on Amazon. The second topic is about the potential 20% increase in Silicon Wafer pricing. And the third topic is about EA's shenanigans with the Battlefront 2 game. So hopefully you enjoy this episode of Terrius Talks Tech. So right now the AMD Ryzen and Threadripper chips on Amazon have very good discounts on them, and this topic is coming from Hot Hardware. So AMD Ryzen, Threadripper, Ryzen 7 and Ryzen 5 get massive discounts with Amazon pre-Black Friday blowout. Back in late October, Amazon lowered their prices on the AMD Threadripper chips. The discount amounted to about $120 US on the high-end 1950X. And it turns out that there's still more room on them. Amazon is back with another round of discounts on the Threadripper family. So the Ryzen Threadripper 1950X, its MSRP is $1,000 US, and right now it is selling for $799. So that's $200 off currently, which is another $80 off from what they had previously lowered it to. The 1920X MSRP is about $800 US, and right now it's sitting at $549, so that's about $250 off. And then the 1900X normally retails for $549, but right now is $449, so that's $100 off. And then for comparison's sake, of course, the 16-core, 32-thread i9-7960X from Intel is priced at $1,700 right now, compared to the $799 that the AMD chip is going for. That's almost $1,000 difference. So right now, Threadripper, super awesome value if you get a chip on these Black Friday deals. And of course, Amazon didn't stop with just Threadripper, they also discounted Ryzen. So it's encouraging to see that this discount also applies to the lower end chips, the ones that are certainly going to be more obtainable for most users. The regular MSRP of the 1800X is $450, and right now it's selling for $320. The 1700X is normally $400, and right now it's selling for $280. The 1700 is normally $330, and it's selling for $270. And then Ryzen 5 as well is discounted, not as drastically, but the 1600X, which is normally $240, is $200 right now. The Ryzen 5 1600, which is normally $220, is $190 right now. The Ryzen 5 1500X is normally $190, but right now it's going for $165. And the 1400, which is just a quad-core CPU, is going for $147.78. So basically nobody knows how long these discounts are going to stick around, whether this is the new pricing for it, or whether or not this is just a Black Friday deal. But if you're looking for a AMD Ryzen chip, right now is an awesome time to get one. There's tons of stock of it, unlike the Intel chips, which unfortunately, despite being amazing chips, the Intel ones just don't have all that much stock currently. The next topic we have for today is the increasing price of the silicon wafers. Now, silicon wafers are used in basically all semiconductors. It's a thin slice of semiconductor material, so silicon in this case. It's used for electronics fabrication, integrated circuits, photovoltaics, so solar cells, CPU, a GPU, a microcontroller, and all sorts of other things use silicon wafers. Well, let's bring up the article here from ET News, their English website. So price of silicon wafer, which is one of the raw materials for semiconductors, shot up by 20% compared to its price from last year. So basically it's an issue of supply and demand. There's a really highly growing demand for DRAM and NAND and all sorts of other chips that are all based off using these silicon wafers. So Sumco, the Japanese silicon wafer manufacturer, recently announced the forecast of its performance for the fourth quarter and estimates the price of 300mm wafers will be at least 20% higher than that from fourth quarter of last year. They're a leading silicon wafer manufacturer that has accounted for 2/3 of the global silicon wafer market. So that is a very large silicon wafer fabricator, which means that if their prices go up, it's basically going to affect the entire industry. So according to their CEO, the global demand for the 300mm silicon wafers is currently sitting at 5.6 million units per month. And due to the memory industries like Samsung and other companies increasing their production, they're estimating that the global demand in 2020 will be 6.6 million units per month. Now, unfortunately, they are limiting themselves from making extensions of their facilities as price of silicon wafer can fall once they increase amount of supplies. So unfortunately, the reason the price is going up is because they want it to go up. It's good for business. So they're not going to be increasing their fabrication capabilities, because if they did that, then the price would go down and then it's not as valuable to them, and shareholders get upset and what have you. So they will be increasing the monthly output of 300mm silicon wafers, but not until 2019. So for 2018, everybody's pretty much stuck with what they've got. So Gamers Nexus did a really good article about this as well. They explained in more detail kind of what's going on with it. Okay, so our final topic for today is the Star Wars Battlefront 2 shenanigans that have been plaguing EA. So there's kind of been mass outrage about the Battlefront 2 game, and that's been going on for the last couple of weeks here. It ended up creating the most downvoted Reddit response in the history of Reddit. It was something like over 200,000 downvotes. EA decided to put in microtransactions into this new Battlefront 2 game. Now, the big thing that everybody seemed to cover was the time and the cost of the special heroes like Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader and all of those characters. There were reports ranging from $40 to $60 of real-world money in order to unlock these characters. Otherwise, you could spend 40 hours just constantly grinding in order to unlock those characters through progression. Now, unfortunately, that wasn't the only problem with this. They also released a bunch of loot crates. These loot crates were filled with items that would potentially make you a more competitive player in the multiplayer arena. A big portion of Battlefront 2 isn't the single player, it's actually the multiplayer, and that's kind of what Battlefront 1 was marketed as, was a Star Wars multiplayer shooter. And that's kind of where Battlefront 2 is trying to advance on. It's a much better game than Battlefront 1 from a mechanical standpoint, at least from what I've heard, but the unfortunate inclusion of pay-to-win items has really pushed a lot of people to the angry side of the spectrum. Now, there are rumors that this push for pay-to-win was actually initiated by Lucasfilm, in that they didn't want cosmetic items to be on the shop, but they definitely wanted microtransactions to be a big part of the game. The rumor is that that caused EA to be kind of forced into this position. Everything went bad with Battlefront 2. After paying $80 for a game, people were seeing that they either had to spend an obscene amount of time to unlock these characters and unlock these multiplayer perks, or they had to spend an extra $200, $300. Now, I believe somebody did calculations and it was over $2,000 to unlock all of the items, theoretically. And that's kind of insane, that you're paying $80 and then potentially another $2,000. And unfortunately, this is just a way of the game industry these days. Everybody's looking for those whales that basically will pay whatever they can in order to be the best they can as fast as they can, so they don't have to progress through the story of the game or progress manually. So EA did have a response to all of this, and let's bring that up here. And that's, thank you to everyone in our community for being the passionate fans that you are. Our goal has been to create the best possible game for all of you, devoted Star Wars fans and game players alike. We've also had an ongoing commitment to constantly listen, tune, and evolve the experience as it grows. You've seen this with both the major adjustments and polish we have made over the past several weeks. As they approach the worldwide launch, it's clear that many of us felt that there are still challenges in the design. They've heard the concerns about potentially giving players unfair advantages, and they've heard that this is overshadowing an otherwise great game. This was never their intention, They're sorry they didn't get this right. So they're turning off all in-game purchases, and they will spend more time listening, adjusting, balancing, and tuning. This means that the option to purchase crystals in the game is now offline, and all progression will be earned through gameplay. The ability to purchase crystals in-game will become available at a later date. Initially, everybody was all super happy. It's like they read the first few paragraphs here and completely missed that. They said, yay, we won, gamers were outraged, and EA bent and buckled to us, and they removed microtransactions from the game, and they're not going to be putting them back. And then it seemed like there was a little bit of a disconnect, and a while later, they started getting outraged again when they realized, yeah, they're planning on bringing them back in. This is only a temporary change. It's been said that they disabled the refund button in Origin for this game, so you actually have to physically call in if you want a refund of this game. Now, I don't know if that's re-enabled or anything yet, but it seemed like it was a kind of stop measure in order to prevent as many people from refunding the game and giving up on it. It sounds like their sales are getting hurt pretty badly by this outcry. Now, the other thing that came up about all of this is that there's some talk about whether or not this is considered gambling. There's a lot of countries that are actually looking into this. Really, loot crates should be kind of restricted to appearance items only, in my opinion. You shouldn't be able to get pay-to-win stuff on a paid game. If this game had been free to play from the start, then maybe microtransactions for pay-to-win would be acceptable. That's a completely different business model. But if you're charging season passes and you're charging $80 for the start of the game, really your advancement should be based on player skill. Now, cosmetic items are perfectly fine. There's lots of games now that are doing that. World of Warcraft, you can buy mounts and stuff. All sorts of games, you can buy skins. CSGO, you can buy skins for your weapons. There's rumors that PUBG might even be starting to do the skin route for some guns and stuff. There's nothing concrete on that, but there seems to be some hints at that in the game files from the latest test server build. So that's kind of the way that most games go. Instead of doing pay to win, they do pay for cosmetics, things that you can get by without having, but if you really want to spend that extra money and have that fancy looking gun or rainbow colored parachute or what have you, then you can go right ahead and do that on your own dime. A big chain was started and Disney started getting spammed with this tweet and retweets from this, saying how it's gambling and that it's unacceptable for a Disney product to have gambling in it, especially a game that is marketed towards teens and up. In most countries, it's against the law to allow teens to gamble or children to gamble, and you're going to probably find that there's lots of people that are under the age restriction for this game playing it because that's how it works these days. So in order for a game to be legally considered gambling, 3 elements must be involved: consideration, prize, and chance. Money that a person pays to participate in the game is the consideration. The game's rewards are the prize, and chance is any random element that can affect winning. So 2 elements of the new Star Wars games have muddied the waters and led players to call this gambling. The first element is randomized prizes generated by Battlefront 2's loot crate reward system. The second is EA's decision to let the gamers use actual money via microtransactions to buy crystals, which can be redeemed for loot crates full of randomly assigned rewards. Players can also earn these crystals through gameplay without spending any money. Belgium's Gaming Commission has begun investigating whether or not it and other games like Overwatch should be classified as gambling. The problem is specifically the loot box system, they say, because players pay money for certain things, but they do not know what the money will actually buy. This is gambling according to the Belgian governmental body, and it's a particularly big concern with the Star Wars franchise because it's targeted to minors. And then it tells you, of course, that it's rated T for teen and you'd need a valid credit card. So the company is encouraging parents to use appropriate tools and filters on their consoles and PCs to guard against unauthorized purchases. It'll be interesting to keep following and watching and seeing what actually occurs here. There's rumors that the main reason that EA decided to remove microtransactions was actually a forced move by Disney, and that they said basically, no, you have to disable this, we're getting too much negative feedback. People are starting to petition against us because it's our IP that you're selling and it's not going well. And this whole gambling thing was certainly a major part of that. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Terrius Talks Tech. If you did enjoy this episode, then be sure to give it a like. If you didn't enjoy it, then you can give it a dislike. If you have any questions or comments or ideas for future episodes, then leave them in the section below. Otherwise, you can email them to me or you can tweet them to me. And if you want to share this video, then please go ahead. Every little bit helps. If you did enjoy this and you want to see more of this kind of content, then be sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to put out one of these videos every Tuesday. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day.